want the first line of your obituary to say?
There was a point there where I lived only for movies.
When I first met George, I saw somebody with a point of view that was so strong he didn't allow anybody else's point of view.
You realize that was really, in the end, all you have.
It was a disaster.
You really say, is he going to make it through this movie?
We're his soldiers, and we're all fighting this single battle.
It was insane to even attempt it.
Star Wars. It is more than just a successful movie, it is a box office phenomenon.
It's the biggest box office hit in cinema history.
It was a point in my career where I could have really taken over the world.
So it was like, well, I'm here, and every day now is an extra day. I've been given an extra day. So I got to make the most of it.
The universal question is, am I a good person? So you're either trying to get things or you're afraid of losing the things that you've got.
And Disney now owns the Force, giving it control of the Star Wars franchise.
George Lucas. George Lucas.
You're George Lucas and I'm not, which I only realized this morning, which was upsetting.
I come from a small town in
Where?
Modesto.
When did you realize you were outside the box?
Pretty early on. That's why I didn't do well in school.
His grades were not really very good.
When I was in high school, I was a consummate underachiever. I hated school. I loved to build things. I was always interested in building things.
I was mainly interested in cars.
So when I was at Modesto, I was focused on being a race driver.
I love cars and I love chases.
George Lucas loved cars.
Especially in high school, you're defined by your car.
I was like any other, kid, 18 years old. I didn't know what in the world I was going to do with my life and where I was going.
Right before graduation, I was in a terrible automobile accident and was almost killed. And as a result of that, sort of sat in a hospital for a long time thinking about my place in the world. I remember waking up. There was a nurse there, and the first thing she said was, "You're all right. You have all your arms and legs. You're going to be okay." How did I possibly survive this?
After that's when you heard George start saying something like, if you want to do it, do it.
So it was like, well, I'm here, and every day now is an extra day. I've been given an extra day. So I got to make the most of it.
I got interested in photography after my accident.
I was fascinated with the mechanics of it. I mean, coming out of cars and what have you. I was fascinated with the fact that you could take real life and put it onto an image and make it move and you could manipulate it.
I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to be an illustrator.
Was interested in going to art school, but my father wouldn't have anything to do with it.
My father said, "No way, I'm going to pay for that. You can go do it on your own if you want, but you'll never make a living as an artist."
My father wanted me to go into business with him. He ran a stationery store.
He is the son of the small-town businessman.
And I said, I am never, ever going to become a businessman. And he was very upset. It's probably the biggest conflict we ever had.
He said, "No artists in our family."
George's dad was very strict.
My father was firm, especially the media tried to say, "Oh, your father must be Darth Vader," and it's not like that at all. A friend of mine was going to USC, and he said, "Hey, they got a film school. You learn how to take pictures and stuff." And he said, "It's not quite art school, but it's like somewhere in between there." And so I said, "Okay, I'll do that."
I don't know anything about film. I don't know anybody in the film business. I was completely lost.
But as soon as I got to film school, I instantly knew that this was for me. And my animation class was the only production class I had. They gave me a minute's worth of film to play with on the animation camera to learn how it worked. And I realized I really knew how to do this.
I took that 1 minute of film and made it into a movie. And it was a movie that won like 25 awards.
And I said, wow, I know how to do this. I'm actually pretty good. Matter of fact, I'm better than anybody here. I didn't really trust it until I got into film school and I realized that I could do something that I could do that nobody else could do. It's one of those things you eat, sleep, and drink movies, and you love every second of it. And that's why I lived 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I couldn't think of anything else. I left became an editor, became a cameraman, worked for a while, wasn't happy, decided I'd go back to school and see if I could get a master's degree in cinema. I got a chance to go back to school and teach a class as a teaching assistant in photography. In the process of that class, I made a film called THX.
Most of my first student films were very technical oriented, and they were mostly visual exercises.
One was a beginning project on somebody trying to escape East Germany. It was about freedom. Another one was a little tone.
One movie you did called The Emperor, which is about a radio DJ.
And then along came this film called THX 1138 by a director I never heard of named George Lucas.
I think that, THX has won a lot of awards.
It absolutely stopped the festival. I mean, whatever was happening that night, and you could hear a pin drop in the theater. It was like the greatest incentive from one film student to another I'd ever been gifted with.
Won a lot of scholarships based on the film.
I got a scholarship to Warner Brothers, which I kind of just took on a lark.
The only movie on the lot at that time was Finian's Rainbow.
That's how I met Francis, was on one of those scholarships.
Tell me about the relationship between the two of you. Is it mentor-protege? Is it brother?
No, a lot of what I've learned from Francis. The reality is it's sort of mentor-mentee. There's a lot of similarities between the way we work. I'd like to especially thank Francis, who, more than anyone else, started my career.
I noticed this skinny kid watching me, so I just, was curious who this, young man was, and I think I went over to him and said, hi, see anything interesting? And he said, no, not much.
George told Francis that he was doing it all wrong, and this is where he should put the camera.
I thought he was really a bright kid, and I used to say to George, okay, you can stay here and observe me.
He sort of took me under his wing, and out of that became Francis Coppola's assistant, and from that worked with him on The Rain People.
Francis wanted to do a small unit, moving quickly, picking our locations as we went.
Well, I said, well, we could get money in the budget for you to do a documentary on the making of the film.
George was around making this documentary. You'd look around, suddenly there'd be George in the corner, with his camera.
But really, you could be writing your script.
Francis sort of took me by the scruff of the neck and said, "You're going to learn to be a writer." He said, "What I'll do is I'll get you a deal to write a screenplay, THX, which I just won the National Student Film Festival Award with."
What came later was THX, right?
Right.
Your first film.
THX 1138.
In the 70s, there was only like 2 or 3 people at each studio. I mean, that was it. When you went to a studio to make a deal, you went to 1 or 2 people. That was the only people there.
It was an industry that was controlled by a bunch of old guys.
Frustrated by the old way of making movies, Coppola and Lucas began to dream of a new kind of filmmaking.
George wanted to make a feature version of THX 1138.
Francis managed to get a deal to make a feature version of THX.
George came on the set. There were 2 cameras, 2 cinematographers, 2 everything. I mean, I never worked that way. He was so innovative. It was unbelievable. And that's kind of been his stamp into the future for here in eternity, really.
George pursued a very independent vision with THX.
They hated THX, and they wanted to recut it. And they canceled all the projects, and then he demanded that Francis pay all the money back immediately.
I take it you're a bit embittered about this whole business with Warner Brothers, or the whole way of doing business in general in the industry.
Yeah, it's a fact of kind of resentment, I guess, that everyone feels when one finds that somebody who has the money, or as a result of the money, has the power to make decisions that are out of their area. The diversion really happened after THX,
right? Because
that's where I was, and to say I was going to go back and make really non-verbal visual films, but I had this opportunity. Francis had said after THX, he said, look, why don't you do something more conventional next time? Why don't you do something funny? So I said, well, okay, I can do a comedy. I know how to do that. I have a very strong interest in the mating rituals of American teenagers. In the United States, they all did it in cars, which, you know, in the 50s and 60s was unheard of in the rest of the world. No teenager could afford a car.
Lucas took those memories of adolescence in the tranquil 50s and early 60s and turned them into a coming-of-age classic, American Graffiti.
American Graffiti is a kind of documentary film. I thought of it as a kind of montage of music and cruising at the same time.
It's about a bunch of teenagers on the last night before their high school graduation, the last night they could still be kids.
So I would just shoot everything I could possibly shoot, and then I would go back and figure out how I was going to put it together later.
Each one of those four people is some aspect of George. He is the hot rod kid, the kid who left Modesto, the son of the small town businessman.
In those days, you just didn't make a movie and intercut 4 different stories.
We'd take them all.
So it was very, progressive for its day. It was also one of the first movies to ever use just music from the radio.
Wondering what's this happening so gracious and good on the radio.
I loved it, and I thought the audience loved it, and I was shocked that the executive from Universal came up to me with a very glum face, sort of saying like, well, what are we going to do?
We showed it to a bunch of people we got at supermarkets and stuff just to test it, and they just went berserk. They loved it. The studio executives simply hated the movie and said it wasn't fit to show an audience.
That only built George's resolve about what Hollywood was made of. That here, I'm giving you what you want, the crowd pleaser, and yet you still won't let me have my moment. You will not appreciate what the artist does.
American Graffiti. It's a movie. Can you dig? Go back in time. Where were you in '62? It's one of those great old movies about romance, racing, and rock and roll. Oh, American Graffiti. American Graffiti. Rated PG.
Graffiti became the most profitable movie in history, taking $50 for every dollar invested and making Lucas a millionaire.
I really did sit down to myself and say, okay, now I am a director. Now I know I can get a job. And so that's where Star Wars came in. Thinking about other ideas, and one of them was to do a Republic serial, an action-adventure film. The idea was it would be very, very fast-paced and very exciting. So then I had to take it to Universal. I said, well, I want to do Star Wars now. And they said, no, we don't want to do that. But fortunately, Alan Ladd Jr. at 20th Century Fox had seen American Graffiti in one of those screenings. Alan Ladd Jr., when he gave me the go-ahead, he said, look, I don't understand this script. I don't understand your movie, but I think you're a talented guy, and whatever you do is okay with me. I started out with Darth Vader coming in and killing everybody, and then halfway through the movie, his son realizes that he's the hero, but the villain is his father, and then at the end, he redeems his father. That was the movie. Well, it got so big that I couldn't do it, so I only took the first act. And when I took the first act, I promised myself I would finish the other 2 parts of the movie, that no matter what, no matter how much this one failed, I would get that done. At that point, I really felt that I'd gotten myself into a real mess, and I didn't know whether I was going to get it out. A lot of the rest of the crew really didn't have any idea what was going on.
I mean, it was weird. It was very, very weird.
It was a disaster.
And we were all goofing around and trying to make George crack, because he really looked like he was ready to burst into tears.
The pressures on Lucas during the filming were enormous. The film was quickly behind schedule. They were also over budget.
I have never seen him so depressed into the question, you really say, is he going to make it through this movie?
For Lucas, these 10 weeks were pressure-laden as he struggled to keep the 130-member company on schedule.
The British crew refused to work overtime.
From there on, a lot of trouble started.
He had some clashes with the cameraman.
The British crew thought that we were all out of our minds.
I assumed that I was going to fail all the way through it. I just finished shooting the movie and I was exhausted. I came back, I'd fired my editor, I had to reassemble the movie, recut it, and this was in August and the film was coming out in May.
For the next 6 months, George worked 16-hour days with no days off.
And I really got myself into a mess that I'll never get myself out of. Success is a very difficult thing. It's much more difficult than one might think. If you're really doing something worthwhile, I think you will be pushed to the brink of hopelessness before you come through the other side.
Hollywood, California, August 1977. A triumphant moment in screen history.
Star Wars, which just now broke the United States box office record, which was once held by Gone with the Wind and then by Jaws.
But already it's the biggest box office hit in cinema history, having grossed the best part of $200 million in the United States alone.
The world resounds with the fact that Star Wars itself has become a full-fledged social phenomenon.
People can see it a dozen times or 24 times because it doesn't matter that you know the story. You still have the sound and light, the effects, the explosions, the dogfight in outer space. It's just a never-ending visual delight.
Star Wars' fabulous success left Lucas very rich.
I took everything I made out of Star Wars and invested in Empire Strikes Back.
Do or do not. There is no try.
I took everything that I made in Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars and I put it into Return of the Jedi.
So what I told you is true, from a certain point of view.
It's been about 7 years since the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Star Wars is just very all-consuming. You know, it's just, I don't have time to do a lot of other things. I wanted to do other movies, but again, your life goes down funny tracks.
Meet the real focus of his life, his 3 adopted children.
After Return of the Jedi, I basically stopped, directing films.
When his marriage didn't work, Lucas turned all his attention to Amanda, the baby they had adopted.
And so I was raising a young daughter who was like a year and a half old. And so I said, I'm just going to stop and raise her. That's more important to me than making movies. The greatest joy is raising kids. The moment my first daughter was born, Amanda, it was just like a bolt of lightning hit me. From that moment on, that became my first priority. I took 15 years off, adopted 2 other kids.
He realized that that was really, in the end, all you have.
So everyone who's been wondering why there hasn't been a new Star Wars movie in 15 years finally has the answer. George Lucas has been too busy making home movies.
He puts his life ahead of his work, always has. And then when they're at school and when they're occupied, George runs a small little kingdom called Lucasfilm.
So the guy who used to conjure up Ewoks and droids and Wookiees is now managing a creative empire.
Industrial Light and Magic, the special effects company Lucas created to make the first Star Wars.
All art is based on how far you can push the technology.
The first digital editing system, the first digital audio editing system, a film laser scanner, and a powerful graphics computer for digital compositing and high-resolution imagery. The Pixar Image Computer.
Lucasfilm's Pixar Group, which would later form a new company and create such films as Toy Story.
At the same time, my kids are getting older now.
Single parent or not, he finally couldn't resist directing another Star Wars film.
I wanted to do other movies. I said, you know, if I don't do the Star Wars thing now, I'll never get to do it. This is the moment in time.
Lucas is paying for Star Wars entirely on his own.
You know, I get to do the things that I want to do without somebody arbitrarily coming in and saying, no, you can't do that.
You cannot direct a movie and be a single parent at the same time.
Well, now I've done it.
Today, I am proud to announce the Walt Disney Company is acquiring Lucasfilm, the global entertainment company founded by George Lucas and the home of the legendary Star Wars franchise. The addition of Lucasfilm will further our growth strategy and create even more opportunity for Disney to drive significant long-term value for our shareholders.
If you're really doing something worthwhile, I think you will be pushed to the brink of hopelessness. I'll let it go when it's over. Well, I'm here, and every day now is an extra day. I've been given an extra day, so I got to make the most of it. I had a great chapter 1. I had an even better chapter 2, and I have high hopes for chapter 3.
Now, filmmaker George Lucas is going from movie creator to museum curator.
I think it's important to have a museum that I used to jokingly say supports all the orphan arts that nobody else wants to see.
At age 68, he's also newly married to corporate executive and CBS News financial contributor Melody Hobson. You seem happy.
I am very happy. You either look at the world through cynical eyes or through idealistic eyes. Mostly their selfishness centers around power and control. And the struggle is always to be able to let go of all that stuff.
You have done more for the collective consciousness of this planet than you will ever know.
May the Force be with you.
Or ever really need to know.
I am the Father.
I hope people for generations will still enjoy the movies and they will be important to young people's lives, and I think that will be more important. There was a point there where I lived only for movies, but now I know the truth that children are the key to life and the key to joy and the key to happiness. If you go to the side of the light, you will be happy. It's compassion, helping other people, not thinking about yourself, thinking about others. That gives you a joy that you can't get in anything. And I just decided, well, I think I'm just gonna take care of my daughter because that seems like the right thing to do. You know, I made these, it was right after Return of the Jedi. I said I made all these movies and I'm not gonna escape Star Wars. And my central concern was my daughter. There is a world of young people who need to be inspired. Life is fluid. You're always given opportunities and choices. No decision is the worst decision. You know, if you go with your heart and do what you think is right, generally it'll take you in the right place. We will all be forgotten. But while I was here, I tried to live a good life. I tried to do the right thing. I tried to make this a better world.
What do you want the first line of your obituary to say?
I was a great dad. So, thank you all for going to the movies, especially mine.